I sat through this detective's testimony, and what I heard felt less like an investigation and more like a cover-up in slow motion. He wasn't there when they found the gun. He wasn't there for the autopsy. He wasn't even there for the search of the crime scene itself. But here's what stopped me cold. A witness told police the driver was bald, and that 3 other people were in that car, and he never said a word about it in court. Even the canine dogs brought in to track a suspect came back with nothing. Then the exact ground where Charlie Kirk was shot got paved over, just days later. His only explanation? He heard about it on the news.
All right. Were you involved when the gun was located in the forest area?
I was not involved in the search for the gun, no.
Did you get notice when it was located?
From the footage that we reviewed, we identified an area that we believed could be potentially of evidentiary value, and then it was secured, and then I was notified that as a result of that search, a gun had been located, yes.
Were you involved in the processing of that gun? In other words,
I was not.
boxing it, shipping it, sending it wherever it was going to go to be analyzed?
I was not, no.
Okay, thank you. All right, now I want to shift to the autopsy for just a moment. You were not present at the autopsy, is that right?
I was not.
Okay. So anything you know about the autopsy was not from personal observation?
No, other than from my meeting with the medical examiner and his report, no, I was not present.
Did you meet with the medical examiner after he had conducted the autopsy?
I did, yes.
And when you met with him, did you provide him information about what you all had learned in your investigation so far?
We didn't have any reason to provide any investigative information to him. The purpose of the meeting was to establish what information he could provide to us.
Well, in fact, on the front page of the medical examiner's report, he talks about the investigation and information he learned. Did he learn that from you, or did he learn it from someone else?
It would be my recollection that he did not learn that from us, but I couldn't speak to how he did learn about it.
Okay, so you didn't share with him your conclusions about what happened or how Mr. Kirk was injured or anything like that?
That's my recollection.
Okay, thank you. And isn't it also true that fingerprints that were taken from Mr. Kirk and autopsy photos were provided to you on a CD?
Yes.
Was there anything else provided to you from the autopsy other than that?
Other than the CD and the report?
Yes.
Not to me, no.
Okay. You did mention not to you. Were you aware of anything else from the autopsy going to anyone else?
I believe standard practice is anything of evidentiary value that the medical examiner collects is transferred through a chain of custody.
And are you aware of anything that was transferred after Mr. Kirk's autopsy?
I'm aware that there were items transferred for evidence, yes.
What items?
I believe some fragments of a bullet casing. I know Mr. Kirk's personal items to be returned to the family. That's all I can recall off the top of my head.
Do you know how many fragments from the bullets?
I don't.
Okay. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Ring camera that you obtained, and you interviewed a woman named Ms. Noble, is that right? To get that Ring camera that we watched with the car on the outside?
We interviewed her to verify the authenticity of the video, yes.
And were you involved in that interview?
With Ms. Noble?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And do you recall what they told you about what they remember seeing in and around that car that night?
I don't recall. I just know we were there to verify the video. I didn't conduct an interview with Ms. Noble at that time.
Okay. Can we please bring up whole... Sorry, just a moment. Let's see. Whole 48. This is Ms. Noble's interview. Do you have it? All right, do you remember that? Looking at that interview, does that refresh your recollection?
I remember reading the report at some point, yes.
And do you remember that the Nobles told you that the driver of the vehicle was bald?
I do remember that being in the report, yes.
And you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes, I believe they thought that was the case.
Okay. I want to go back, if I can, to the scene itself, the preservation of the actual scene where Mr. Kirk passed. Did you all have canine dogs at any point that sniffed that area?
I don't know specifically that area, but I do know that canines were present, or a canine was present on the day.
But you don't know what task the canine was given?
My understanding was that it may have been used in an effort to track an individual that had jumped off the roof, but I don't know for certain.
And obviously that didn't produce any results, or we would have heard about that, right?
Yeah, not that I was made aware of.
Okay. Do you know when the tent and the stuff was actually removed from the scene?
I don't. I would imagine it had been at least a couple of days, if not longer than that, before anything was removed from the scene.
You didn't have to give permission to remove the tent?
Me, personally?
Right.
No.
So you're not sure when it was removed?
No.
And were you involved in the decision to pave over the dirt that was under the tent?
At UVU?
Uh-huh.
No.
Did you know that happened?
Only because it was in the news.
All right. But you don't know when or who ordered that?
Nope.
I need to talk about what actually happened in that courtroom because the headlines missed the point entirely. This wasn't a routine cross-examination. This was a homicide detective under oath, admitting he was absent for nearly every moment that mattered in the investigation into Charlie Kirk's death. There are 3 moments in this case he simply was not present for. He wasn't there when investigators found the gun in the forest. He wasn't there for the autopsy. And he wasn't there for the search of the crime scene itself. 3 of the most consequential steps in the entire investigation, and the lead detective is telling a courtroom, under penalty of perjury, that he wasn't in the room for any of them. Before you wave that off as ordinary division of labor, understand why it matters. Every serious criminal case runs on something called chain of custody. It's the unbroken paper trail that follows a piece of evidence from the moment it's found to the moment it's shown in court. Who found it? Who touched it? Who moved it? Who stored it? Break that trail, and you don't need proof of tampering. A single unexplained gap is often enough to build reasonable doubt. So when a detective can't say who processed the gun, who boxed it, who shipped it, that's not a paperwork detail. That's a crack running straight through the foundation of the case. The same detective wasn't at the autopsy either. Everything he knows about how Mr. Kirk died came secondhand, through a report and 1 meeting with the medical examiner. Here's what should stop you. The medical examiner's own report references investigative information right on its front page, information the detective says he never provided. So where exactly did it come from? He couldn't say. Nobody in that room could answer it. Then we get to the moment that deserves your full attention. Investigators once interviewed a woman named Miss Noble to verify a piece of ring camera footage. In that interview, she told police 2 things. The driver of the vehicle was bald, and 3 other people were sitting in that car. That single admission does 3 things at once. It confirms police had a specific description of the vehicle's occupants early in the case. It confirms the detective knew this detail for the entire length of his testimony. And it confirms he never once mentioned it, not until a lawyer forced it into the record. That's not a memory lapse. That's a curated version of events, and curated truth isn't truth. It's narrative management. And that's exactly why cross-examination exists in the first place. It's the one moment in the entire legal process where an official account has to survive direct, adversarial pressure instead of being taken at face value. Every layer peeled back here didn't happen because the investigation volunteered it. It happened because someone forced it out, question by question. Add the K-9 unit to this picture. Dogs were brought in to track a suspect who allegedly fled by jumping off a roof. According to the detective himself, that search turned up nothing. No trail, no confirmation, nothing disclosed publicly until someone finally asked. But here's the detail that should trouble you most. The exact ground where Charlie Kirk was shot got paved over within days. Not months, days. Picture reporting a break-in at your home, and before detectives even finish walking the property, someone quietly repaves your driveway. That's essentially what happened here, except this wasn't a driveway. It was the spot where a man was shot in front of a crowd. There's a legal term for this. It's called spoliation of evidence, the destruction or loss of material relevant to an active investigation. Courts take it seriously enough that judges can instruct juries to draw what's called an adverse inference, meaning jurors are allowed to assume the missing evidence would have hurt whoever destroyed it. I'm not saying a crime scene needs to stay frozen forever. That's not realistic. But when a detective can't name who approved paving over the ground where a political assassination happened, and his only knowledge of that decision came from watching the news like the rest of us, that's not standard procedure. That's an accountability vacuum sitting in plain sight. Now stack all of this together, and you get 3 practical risks. First, an evidentiary record with holes nobody can explain, because a broken chain of custody gives every future appeal a foothold. Second, sworn testimony that only becomes complete when someone forces it out, which means the public record was never voluntarily honest to begin with. Third, a physical crime scene that no independent expert can ever revisit, which means any unresolved question about trajectory or positioning is now permanently unanswerable. None of these risks stay contained to one case. Each one chips away at the presumption that this investigation was thorough. Why does that matter beyond this one hearing? Because public trust in any investigation, especially one this consequential, depends entirely on the belief that the process was complete and honest. The moment that belief cracks, it doesn't just damage this case. It damages confidence in every investigation that follows it. Think about what that actually costs in the real world. It hands ammunition to people who don't need evidence, just gaps to fill with speculation. It leaves a grieving family without confidence that the full truth was ever assembled. And it quietly teaches future investigators that selective memory carries no real consequence, as long as you can say I wasn't there enough times under oath. And there's a longer shadow here too. This is not some obscure local case. It's the investigation into the assassination of a nationally recognized political figure, watched by millions of people who will remember exactly how it was handled. If the standard here is this loose, it becomes the template for the next high-profile case, and the one after that. So what should this teach us? It's not complicated. Evidence has to be preserved before it's understood, not paved over before it's questioned. Witness statements have to be disclosed in full, not filtered down to whatever supports the tidier story. Chain of custody isn't paperwork for its own sake. It's the only thing standing between a fair investigation and a convenient one. A justice system doesn't earn public trust by asking us to take its conclusions on faith. It earns that trust by showing its work, every handoff, every witness statement, every inch of the crime scene, before the ground gets paved over. That's not too much to ask. It's the bare minimum. And when a detective can't answer basic questions about his own investigation, the real question isn't why he doesn't remember. It's what happens to the truth when nobody is ever required to.